Hi everyone, it's Amanda from Simple Life of a Frugal Wife, and today we're going to be talking about ways that you can save money while traveling. Now, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'd love for you to do so, and you can do that by pushing the subscribe button below. And let's get into the video. Now, before we get into the real reason for the video, I just wanted to say that it is mid-June, and I am wearing slippers. I know Canada is known for being a cold country, but this is craziness. I am not happy. I should be wearing flip-flops and enjoying the sun. But it's another cool rainy day. We've had such a cool rainy spring. And so here I am, mid-July, mid-June, and wearing slippers. So, now that I got that complaint out of the way, let's talk about the real reason for the video. Now, we've lived on our homestead for just about 2 years, and so we haven't done much traveling in the past 2 years because it's a little more difficult with animals, and we just had some other priorities. But before we were on the homestead, we used to travel quite a bit. Now, there weren't any exotic big trips overseas, but we did manage to take a couple really big trips across Canada and one to Colorado, which was a 40-hour drive from our home. And we would often take weekend getaways with our family or even overnight trips. It was a way that we could experience other parts of the country and, parts of the U.S. We would go over there too, and to show our children the other parts of the U.S. and Canada, and we really, really enjoyed it. But we were living on a very low income, so it was really important to me that we still could do these things but not go into debt over it. So today I thought I'd share with you some of the things we did, and so you may apply them to your life so that you can travel as well, because the truth is that you can travel on a pretty small income. It may not be the trip of your dreams quite yet, but you can do little things, and so you don't have to let money prevent you from enjoying those kinds of things. So the first one is to camp while you were away. Now, for us, when we traveled across Canada, it was, again, another 40-hour drive, and then when we went to Colorado, it was a 40-hour drive. And so we took our tent trailer. At the time, we had a tent trailer. Actually, one of those trips, we took a tent trailer, and the other one, we actually set up a tent. So we had a really old 1982 tent trailer, really small, but it worked and it did the trick. And so we drove that thing across Canada, and then when we went to Colorado, we used a tent. There were times that we did stay in a hotel on those trips. If we were in a location late at night or the weather was really, really, really bad, we would stay at a hotel. But for the majority of it, we would camp. And we even found some super, super cheap camping spots, but you actually can find some free camping spots. And so that was just an awesome way for us to be able to travel with our kids. And it was just a really fun adventure. So accommodations can be really, really costly, and so if you feel like you can't afford them, consider camping. And it's not as bad as you think. There are some really, really amazing campgrounds, and you don't have to be, completely in the middle of nowhere. There are quite a few campgrounds where there's tons of people around, tons of businesses. They aren't, deep in the woods. So if that's not your thing, you can still kind of maybe do a little camping, but in a more populated area. The second one I'm going to say is that we would drive instead of fly. So we have not flown with our children. Actually, now that I think of it, my husband and I haven't even flown together. I've actually only been on a plane twice in my life, and it was a 3-hour plane ride. It was nothing too crazy. But if I had driven 40 hours for a trip and it was just myself, it actually would be cheaper to fly. But because we had 5 people in our vehicle, it's cheaper for us to drive. And so some people don't like the long drive. Some people think like 40-hour trip, that's crazy. But for me personally, I think that part of the adventure is the drive. I think that there's so many things that you can miss along the way if you're flying. And so it can be quite nice to drive as long as you take frequent stops and you're okay with going a little slower maybe. It can be a really great way to see some amazing things. One of the trips that we took when we went across Canada, we were driving and we crossed the corner gas set. I don't know if you've ever seen the show, but years ago there used to be a show based in Canada, and it was Corner Gas, and we had not planned to go there, but we just were driving and there it was, so we were able to stop and check it out, and that was really cool, whereas if we had flown we would have missed it. So if you can, drive instead of fly. The next one is to book hotels on budget sites. So if you are going to stay at hotels, there are budget sites online where you can get a cheaper deal. One of the most popular ones that we have used is Priceline, and there are sites like that where you basically bid for a room, or you pick a cheaper hotel, and you may not have the hotel you're staying at revealed until you pay for it. Now that might be a little scary, but you're able to pick, how many stars it has, and you're able to pick what kind of area it's in. So we had the lower end of what we wouldn't go past for how many stars the hotel got, because we didn't want to end up in a total dive. And then we would kind of pick our location, and then we would purchase the hotel or fee or whatever, and then we would have our hotel revealed to us. And we've had pretty good luck with that. There was one time that it wasn't the greatest hotel, but really one out of literally dozens and dozens of times we had done that. For me, it's worth it. The next one is to make your own food. So especially because we were camping, that was easy, but you don't need to camp to make your own food. You can bring a cooler, and if you bring like a little, those little tabletop barbecues or something like that, you can pack food, make food while you're on vacation, so you can buy like sandwich stuff and put in the cooler, and that way that'll save you a lot of money. Now for my husband and I, we are big foodies. We love food, and we think that part of the vacation is eating, so we always make some room for going out to eat on some restaurants we're eyeing on our vacation, but for the majority we try to eat most meals at our campsite, or even, we've had meals at our hotel. We've been able to have a hotel room with a little kitchenette. I remember reading one family would bring a crock pot. You definitely probably want to check what the rules are where you stay, if that's allowed, but there are ways that you can make your own food. I generally would make a bunch of snacks like muffins and things like that beforehand, put them in the freezer, and then that would be great for snacks, especially for the kids on our vacation. The next one is to visit free attractions or super cheap attractions. So wherever you're going, just do your research, see what you can find that is free or cheap. There's a lot of awesome things, especially if it's a new area that you've never been to. It's probably all new to you, and so those cheaper or free attractions can be quite fun. And the next one is to vacation somewhere that's closer to home. And so if your budget is kind of tight this year for your vacation, just consider not going as far. You're not going to spend as much on gas, or if you were to fly, you could avoid the cost of flying by being able to pay for gas for a closer trip. There's a lot of usually great places that you maybe haven't experienced that are a little closer to home. The next one is to visit friends or family. If you have some friends or family that would willingly take you in at a location that you kind of want to check out or visit, then do that. Obviously, don't take advantage of your friends and family. Make sure you're good house guests. Make sure you spend some time with them. But you can possibly save on accommodations that way. So, and especially if they're people that you're pretty close to, you could probably even use their kitchen a bit to make meals. But again, I am going to stress, don't take advantage of your friends or family this way. Make sure you're being a guest that they want to have back. The next one is to shorten your time away. We all love 2-week vacations. We all can't necessarily afford 2-week vacations. A weekend away is better than no weekend away. So consider, if your budget is tight, to just have your vacation a little shorter. The next one is to go off season. So we've had the benefit of doing this many times. I know it's not possible for everyone, but if you can swing it, it can be really helpful. We went to Great Wolf Lodge years ago, and we made sure to go midweek during school. We homeschool, so that was easy for us, but I know parents who have at times been able to take their kids out of school for a couple days. That, again, going to vary by what school your kids go to and what area you live in, probably, but Great Wolf Lodge was still quite busy. It's just a busy place in general. So I was kind of thinking, like, how crazy is it during busy season? But we were able to pay a little less and get a few deals and get a room for cheaper at Great Wolf Lodge because we had went during off season. So consider that if that is possible for you. And the last one is to stick to a budget and be flexible to accommodate that. So years ago when we went to Colorado, we went during monsoon season. I did not know Colorado had a monsoon season. All I knew is I wanted to see the Colorado mountains because I have a huge thing for mountains. So I wanted to see them. And we quickly discovered as we were driving through the mountains, through all the mountain towns, that they have this monsoon season and they have flash floods, and it can be quite dangerous. And so for us, there were a few nights that we ended up staying at a hotel instead of camping, and that wasn't originally in our plan, but because of where we were, we felt it was possibly safest. So in the end, we had wanted to be on our trip longer than we were, but we cut it short because we had spent the money on hotel rooms that we hadn't planned, and we didn't want to go in debt for this trip. We had saved up. We were really excited that we had saved up, and so we had decided we were going to come home. I think we came home about 4 days earlier than we had planned. We had planned to go there for 10 days, and we actually were there for like 6. And it was a bit of a bummer, but at the same time, we saw amazing things. It was great. We were happy we got to go, and we were also happy to go home and be safe and not to set up a tent in monsoon season. So just be flexible, be okay with adjusting your plans if you have unexpected expenses, and that way you will stay within budget. So those are my tips about to travel on a budget. And I really encourage you, if you have the opportunity, to go out and see some parts of the world. Right now we're pretty grounded, but I still have big dreams to see a lot more, and I do plan to do so in the future. But it isn't impossible to do regardless of your income. It just might take a little longer planning, a little longer saving, and making adjustments to fit your budget. So that's all for today, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.